meeting to order.
I say we call it to order and then do roll call.
Right.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah. Frank, you're the chair of this one, right?
Thought Rick was, but you know,
Oh,
I'll call
Frank,
it
Frank, you've got the agenda with all the topics, so I'll
Okay.
defer to you if that's okay.
All right. Well, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And Maria, I'm sure there's some kind of something we're supposed to read that I don't have.
Yes, the statement of necessity, and I'll handle that.
Okay.
If we want to, I'll let Wanda call roll real quick, just for the record.
Okay.
Okay. Rick Thompson,
Present.
Brian Tibbs,
present.
Frank Waxter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. Thank you, Wanda. Okay, I'll go ahead and read the statement of necessity. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Tennessee Board of Architectural and Engineer Examiners Architect Committee, which is taking place by electronic means utilizing the WebEx teleconference application on Tuesday, April 6, 2021. Notice that this meeting was properly posted to the board's website. Because there's not a physical quorum present, a statement of necessity is read into the record and filed with the Tennessee Secretary of State as required by statute. Pursuant to TCA 844-108B2, if a physical quorum is not present at the location of a meeting of a governing body, then in order for a quorum of members to participate by electronic or other means of communication, the governing body must make a determination that a necessity exists. That determination must include a recitation of the facts and circumstances on which it was based. Further, TCA 844-108A3 defines necessity as matters to be considered by the governing body at that meeting require timely action by the body. That physical presence by a quorum of the members is not practical within a period of time requiring action, and that participation by a quorum of the members by electronic or other means of communication is necessary. As stated, this is a regularly scheduled meeting for the Tennessee Board of Architectural and Engineer Examiners Architect Committee. The purpose of this meeting with members attending by teleconference is to discuss regularly scheduled matters of the committee in the most safe manner due to COVID-19. All voting will be conducted by roll call. Okay, and at this time, I'll turn it over to our chair to go through the agenda items that are posted.
Okay. Well, there were two topics that I wanted to discuss in this architecture committee meeting. And the first one is the definition of the practice of architecture. And I sent Brian and Rick and Michael a copy of what the NCARB is proposing to present in their June meeting as a new model law. And with it, it contains the practice of the definition of the practice of architecture. And I don't know if I need to read it in whole, or I don't know if Michael gave any copies of that to you, Maria, or anybody, or Laura, maybe, that you could put on the screen.
I've not received it. If you could email, do you have access to your email that we could send it to me?
Yeah, let me do that real quick.
Thank you.
Okay.
I apologize. I do not have any copies of that either. Rick, would you mind turning your video off?
And I'm sending this to Laura, is that right?
To Maria.
To Maria. And Maria, what's your
would you
email?
mind sending it to both of us? And then Laura, would you mind putting it on the screen?
Yeah. Okay, if y'all would give me your email address.
Yes. Let's see. It's maria.p.bush@tn.gov.
All right, I got that one. Okay, Laura.
Okay, mine is Laura.Costin, and that's COSTIN @tn.gov.
Okay. All right, I'm sending that to y'all, and it's got 3 attachments to it. One of them is labeled Practice of Architecture.
Thank you.
Takes a
Yeah.
long time to get all the way to White House.
And I was gonna tell, while we're waiting on this, I was gonna tell Rick and Brian that the NCARB contacted me today with a copy of this, the definition that she's gonna put on the screen here in a minute. The only thing that they had said that other states seem to struggle with is including something about incidental practice, which this does not have anything about that in it. And I don't know if we want to get into
that.
and usually that's
Oh.
between engineers and architects.
Maria or Laura, if you haven't gotten it, I could take a shot at sharing it if you want me to.
Okay,
Yeah, that'd be
that's
great.
fine. I
Thank you,
haven't
Brian.
received it yet, so have you
Okay.
shared before? Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
Oh, he's got it.
So can you guys see it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll try
Yes,
to make it.
thank you.
It's about as big as I can do it to make it.
Yeah, and to me, it's well written. And the ABCDE part of it actually lines up with the 5 parts of the ARE exam, and it also lines up with the AXP requirements nowadays. And I've looked at, just trying to compare what I have with the landscape architects, the interior design, and the engineering, and the format lines up pretty close with landscape architects. And again, none of them, to my knowledge, have actually proposed anything. But what I've seen from the definitions committee, the format lines up with landscape and interior design. The engineering definition of the practice of engineering is considerably different. And I wonder when we actually come to making a decision and proposing these definitions, if it wouldn't be good if all had some similar formats. And I would kind of probably propose that, or as a question to Maria, maybe. And I guess another question that I have, I'm assuming this will be a rule, in addition to the rules, or will it be required to be law?
Yes, I believe that the definitions are going to be part of a rule package. And so, and you're right that as far as formatting, it would be good to keep them all, in the same standard, in the same line of formatting.
Right. And I know Kathy Ware was the head of or the chair of the definitions committee. And I know that committee will need to probably deal with that, what I'm bringing up. But I'm bringing this up in the architectural committee, not to really discuss the other the other professions definitions, but I don't think that our committee has actually looked at this. And again, I'm assuming this is going to be the final version unless it's changed at the meeting in June, the NCARB meeting in annual meeting in June. But I haven't heard anybody bring up wanting to revise this at all. And so it's a good chance this would be what's presented in their for their model law and their revision of their model law. And so I just wanted to kind of get from Rick and Brian some indication is they think this is the direction we should be going, or in another direction.
Hey, Frank, this is Rick. On item 4, how does that relate to what we currently have in our statutes or our rules?
Right now, we don't really have a definition. That's one thing we've kind of been missing is some definition of the practice of architecture.
Yeah.
When you say item 4, are you meaning D or are you meaning structural?
Structured educational activities, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, I will say, Frank, based on just the practice of architecture,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that this is, I think this kind of grasp what we've been talking about. Seems like for a few years, I mean, to me, this is better than what I think we had before. And at first I was like, do we need this A through E? But I think we do. I think that and I would say if we wanted to, dig into anything else, we would just look at the A through E part. I think the paragraph says it, and then the A through E is if we needed to, if we wanted to nitpick some of the verbiage there.
Right. Yeah, and I noticed I think every one of them, if you'll notice, they say this, like A, B, C, D, and E, it says includes but are not limited to.
Yeah.
And so, from a legal standpoint, Maria, you might lean into this, but that means it's not, that's all it is when you say it includes, but when you say it's not limited to, that can include other things, basically.
Yes, that's correct. And I'll have to look at this language. Sometimes, those kinds of phrases are hard to get approved, but it's not limited to, just because it's so broad, and then it kind of leaves maybe sometimes I'm just playing devil's advocate here of what kind of feedback we might get, but it might, leave the general public open to not really knowing or understanding a clear guideline of, then what is it limited to type thing. But that's just one, angle to consider. But I do like the list just generally of, the A, B, C, kind of defining what those activities are.
Do you think when this is reviewed that they would object to it being written that way? Include but not limited to?
Yeah, sometimes just, if it goes through the Attorney General's office and they review for constitutionality and, if it's overly broad or leaves too much discretion maybe to the board, that's just some feedback that we might get, that we need to put the public on notice of what the activities actually are. So, but I understand the intent of the rule, and I do like, this language of, because what it's trying to do is just say, these are for sure defined, but it can also include things that are not listed here.
Right.
So I think maybe in writing it, we get these model rules sometimes and kind of reword, like leave them pretty much the same, but we can reword to make them more clear. So one thing that we could do is, you know, planning services include programming and planning. But then, like, as a caveat at the end, you know, we say this list does not prohibit the board from, you know, something to the effect of there are activities that may not be listed here. The board still has the discretion and jurisdiction over those activities. We'd have to work on that language, but
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Rick. I don't want to get us pigeonholed into doing those two things and planning, because there's a lot more things that we do. But you know, how do you list the 10 things when you're only going to do 2? Or so yeah, the language is going to be important, not to pigeonhole us into something that we get beyond that and start getting in trouble with.
Yeah.
Would it, and Maria, you'd be the best person, but would it be better if it, these services, like if there was kind of a leading sentence for these 4 or 5 different things, as opposed to with each one of them, but are not limited to, like almost like, for example, playing services, you know, would that be a better way to do the language? So you have a, kind of like to Rick's point, you have an idea of at least what playing services include, but it's, you know, it could be more, you know. Is there any way to do that language? Okay.
Yeah, I like that, Brian. So, you know, leading into it as a list of, you know, these may include, but is not limited to.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, like kind of gives a for example thing. Absolutely.
Sorry.
I haven't looked in the AIA documents in a while about defining some of these categories. That there might be some more language in there that we could sort of glean. I don't know. Frank, have you checked that out?
Yeah, I talked to, you know, right now, the Tennessee, AIA Tennessee uses the present NCARB model law definition, you know, verbatim.
Yeah.
And just talking with Ashley, it's my understanding it's their intent to do the same once this new model law is enacted. So I think, you know, of course, we as a state can do however we want to do it, basically.
Yeah.
That's allowable, I guess you'd say. But it's my understanding from her that would be their intent.
So if we don't come up with something to put out there, then that's what they're going to do. But that doesn't exclude them using what we put out there, since it's going to be a state requirement or definition.
Yeah, and I sent a copy of this to her, and she probably already had it, but for them to get together and review.
Okay. All right.
But anyway, my main intent for this was just to kind of open the discussion and see, you know, generally what people were feeling, and maybe if there were any pitfalls in the way this is written, that we could iron them out. Again, I think this is the way NCARB is going to present it. Not necessarily the way we present it, but if we're going to use this as a basis and then work on it, then, you know, I think that personally, I think that would be the direction to take.
I agree.
Yep, I agree too.
All right.
Is there anything do we need to vote about anything at all about
Well,
this?
hey, Brian, could we go back to number 4, the structured education activities?
Let me say this about that,
Okay.
Rick. The part that we're talking about is framed in red.
Okay, so we're not going to go in with anything else.
No, that's actually a portion of another set of definitions.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm good. Thanks.
So do we need to vote at all or anything, or?
I don't think so at this time, Brian.
Okay,
Just kind of a straw poll, if you want to say it.
Yeah. Well, I think we've all agreed.
Yeah.
yeah, I do
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
Will we bring this up at the full meeting, or is this something we're going to continue working on?
We would continue working on it, but I think we would bring it up that we
We
discussed
discussed
it
it
and
and
reviewed
we're
it.
going to move forward with this as a basis for our definition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds good. That's sweet, short and sweet.
The other item that I wanted to bring up is a little different. Well, it is a different subject, but right now, the Tennessee Code annotated, and Brian, if you would, since you're sharing screen, bring up the attachment that I sent you. That's TCA title of it. I mean, yeah, it has TCA 6-2 on it,
All right.
-102.
Okay, just tell me where
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah, that's it.
Right
Top
here.
of the page right there. Yeah, and I copied this out of the using LexisNexis yesterday. Just to make sure it was the most recent. But the thing that concerns me is what I've highlighted there. And it says structures classified as a business factory, et cetera, are defined in the 1985 edition of the Standard Building Code. And, you know, it goes on to go listing, you know, the 3-story height and the, you know, as minimums 5,000 square feet and so forth that you'll see in the code today. The problem that I see is, and if you'll go on down that, that
Further down.
yeah, further down to where it says requirements for building design.
Is this it?
Yeah, the Tennessee Board of Engineers has produced a requirements for building design or reference manual. And if you'll slip on down a little more till you see yellow. Yeah, there you go. It says following is a summary of occupancy definitions of the 1985 edition of the Standard Building Code, which is cited for occupancy definition that we just looked at. And please note the Standard Building Code is cited only for occupancy definitions and no other purpose. And exactly why that was done, I'm not sure. But if you, and the part that has been a problem in the past is the assembly occupancies. If you'll slip on down a little more, let me see where it is. Maybe go back up just a hair. When it's talking about assembly occupancies and it talks about capacity of 50 more people, and then it says that examples include, and you'll see all that list of auditoriums, churches, synagogues, on and on and on. It says, and restaurants that accommodate 100 or more people. And that's been a problem in the past because present day building codes, and I think the state fire marshal is using the 2012 IBC. I've heard they're fixing to adopt the 2018, but in any case, restaurants that accommodate 100 more people are not, you know, well, a restaurant accommodating 100 more is, what they're saying is anything less than 100 people is business occupancy for a restaurant. And so it gives a contradiction to the building code that's accepted by the state of Tennessee. My thought is that it would be best that the 62-2-102, where it refers to the definition of the occupancies as being defined in the 85 edition of the standard building code. And 85 is what? Close to 40 years old, 35 to 40 years old.
That is old.
And the way I've got a copy of the 85 standard building code, and I would say it's about as big as the first chapter of it. The whole building code is about as big as the first chapter of the building code is now. And even the way buildings are treated are different. In the newer building codes, sprinkling a building is used quite a bit more and allows you to do a lot of things that you couldn't do in the 85. So there are a lot of contradictions. And my thought, and you know, Maria or somebody that knows how to deal with state law, my thought is that really needs to be changed and basically say that the occupancies should be based on the most recent international building code adopted by the Tennessee State Fire Marshal.
Yeah, I was about to just say that too, that it seems like that language should always be in unison with the adopted building code.
Right.
And yeah, the way you said it was more legal, but yeah, so this is a law. So is that what you're saying? So this
Yes.
will
Yeah, and that's the reason that I've heard in the past people say, "Oh, you don't want to fool with this because it's a law." And you know, the way a law has to be presented by a legislator, and I'm assuming, and go through their review and so forth. And so there's a lot involved in changing this. And the fear that I've heard from people is that once that's opened up for the legislators to get a hold of it, you never know what the outcome might be. But I think this is the type thing. I mean, we're not trying to improve our, you know, ability to make money or anything like that. It's just we're trying to get this up to where it's, you know, is compatible with the present day codes.
and it would seem like this would potentially help the fire marshal too, because it's just in unison with what is adopted.
Right.
So
Right.
I guess, you know, Maria and others, what do you guys think about this? This is obviously it's a little bit more because it's a law, but
Absolutely. We could submit this to, so the way this would work with the, legislative change, because it is a statute, is that we would just submit this to the department's administration, and they kind of review what statute changes they like to take for the year and present to the governor's office. And this would go through the governor's office to hopefully be changed. And that's coming up. So, where there are several things we're kind of working on right now, if you'd like me to, submit this language and have it, possibly taken and presented to the legislative, team, then definitely I could do that. So right now it says the 1985 edition, and then can you tell me again what's the fire marshal using right now?
Right now, they're using the 2012 International Building Code.
Okay.
And to get if you go on their website, it'll tell you what codes that they're using.
So let me ask you this.
Okay.
Would it be something that instead of, putting in statute again, the 2012 International Building Code, what if we put discretionary language to say whatever code the fire marshal's approving
Yes,
at this
that's
time?
that's what I think would work best. Because if
Okay.
we said the 2012 IBC, then 3 years from now it'll be the 2018 or something, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
now we're out of date again. So I think tying it to the approved or the building code that the state fire marshal is using, and that ties it.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Once we take out, so occupants are defined as defined by the state fire marshal. So does that mean that would eliminate A and B, the 3 stories in height, or does that all stay?
Yeah, it would take out, again, I'm not sure I copied the whole thing, but it's not just assembly. I pointed out assembly because of that big difference. But it also lists if you look down in the reference manual, it lists assembly and business and hazardous, etc. Institutional. But as far as the actual law, it just relates it to that. When you get to the reference manual that the board apparently has produced, they carry it a lot further in name, although they quote the 1985 Standard Building Code. Probably do it because it's been out of print for 30 years.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, that would clean up the law, but the reference manual would need to be revised with similar language to the law.
Okay.
Frank, what about, how do we handle the municipalities using the different code than the state? Because there are different, some of the municipalities do not adopt the same code as the state does. So is there language that we might need to add in there that, or something to the effect of which code is, stricter than the other, or whatever that definition might be? Because I know if Chattanooga in the past, if the state had adopted like a 2018, it might take a year before they do it, just for whatever reason that they've got. And I deal with that on other projects in other municipalities. So would we say something of which is more stringent, or and I know if you're going to submit it to the fire marshal, that's different, but you've got other projects that aren't submitted to the fire marshal.
Yeah, and I deal with this all the time. The state fire marshal right now, like I said, is using the 2012 IBC, and I work with different cities that use the 2018, 2015.
Yeah.
But I think it's best to tie it to the state fire marshal adopted code, and then let the local governments deal with. I've had to caption drawings that are designed for the state fire marshal, that it's designed under the 2012 IBC, but then locally I have to also put in there that it's designed for the 2018. And like you say, I think there's some language in the code itself that says the more stringent of codes is the one that's required.
Okay. Well, the language is in
agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. I do have to apologize. I have to get off for another meeting. I know I'm the one sharing. Do we need to make any kind of motion or anything about this, or do we kind of stop this to? Do we just give this to the staff to work on?
I might ask Maria. If I don't mind having a vote to say we'd like to pursue it, if that's of any value.
At this time, I don't know if we would need a vote. If it's something you want to bring up at the board meeting, we could do that. But, we could vote on it just to be safe. It is an action item. So, but at this time, I really don't have final language for you all to review and approve. So it's kind of more of a discussion, item
Okay.
at this point. But once I get official language and you all review, and then at that point, we would need, a vote.
Okay. Then I think just a consensus that we would like for you to pursue this.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
So when we present this to the full board, do we just tell them that we had a discussion regarding this, and we're going to turn this over to legal, and you're going to get back to us on this at the next board meeting, or how should we present this to the full board?
I think what you said, just that, you're going to let me kind of pursue this, and I'll keep you updated as usual, on what's going on. But there's no, at this point, like action items or voting that necessary. And then also, if you did want to bring up, what you said, that there's been concern in the past that opening up the statute is, I don't know, not dangerous, but, it has concerns for some. But like you said, I think this is a safety and like update issue. It's not anything that would, be damaging. So you might want to bring that up in your discussions. But
well, in the part of the reason in the past that people have been hesitant about doing this is that, as you see every year, there are legislators who try to introduce bills that would make an area that would be exempt from the fire marshal's regulations of sprinklering, for example.
mm-hmm.
And I think it's those types of issues that the professions are concerned about, that it starts getting to be one of those things where they start cherry picking little things here and there, which don't get me wrong, I agree completely that we need to look into this and do something to bring this up to some type of a current standard. But I think I'm just saying that because that's been comments in the past. Oh yeah, we don't want to open that box, or that Pandora's
Mm-hmm.
box, but I don't know what else to do. I mean, I think we need, we just need you to pursue it and let us know what the opinion would be, and then we can decide later on. We can figure out how we do that.
Okay, that sounds good.
So, okay.
And that's something whenever I talk to the administration, I can bring that issue up, and that concern, and just kind of get feedback on what,
Good deal.
their advice.
That's great. Great. Thank you.
Well, I apologize. I have to run. I think we keep quorum. But I didn't want to leave if there's anything, Frank, definitely anything you want, any other input on specifically. Just those two items, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's all I've got.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll see you guys and talk to some of you guys later this week.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Rick, do you want to move? We adjourn?
Well, if we're done, I certainly do. I think that is all we had today, isn't it?
It is. It's all I had anyway. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That sounds good to me. So I will move that we adjourn the committee meeting, and I guess we'll see everybody on Thursday, or talk to everybody on Thursday.
Yep. Okay.
All right. No, we don't need a vote on that, do we?
Nope.
If we do, we're adjourned.
If we do, can I get a second?
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
All right.